Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Australian Transformers Weekly. We're bringing you Transformers news from across Australia and around the world, recording live on Friday, May 14th, 2021. This is episode 236. This week, we will be talking about a world first, legitimately, for Transformers collecting in Australia, with the Big Purple People Eater has been found locally. Well, there's a new masterpiece or two to talk about, and there's a brand new Transformers toy line coming in from Takara. I say brand new, but it's like 2-year-old figures. All that and more is coming up after this. G'day everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Jason, coming to you live from Sydney on a very bloody cold Sydney night, it must be said. And I am saying that conscious of the fact that Daria is coming to me from slightly south of Sydney, known to be much, much colder. How are you doing down there, Daria? Has hell frozen over yet?
You are right on the much, much colder. This ski hat is not for show.
Very, very nice. At least it's keeping you warm.
Yeah, I'm wearing so many layers. If I had an OnlyFans, I could go to 1,000 veils thing after this.
Let's not go to the OnlyFans reference this early in the show. That's 30 seconds. We've done that. We've done that nice and fast. Of course, OnlyFans is the very wholesome website from which you can purchase any fan that you might desire, and sometimes they also do air conditioners. Speaking of websites that allow people to stream weird things online, Bradley, how are you going over there with Twitch streaming every day at the moment?
I'm going quite well. Yeah, still thrown off a bit by the segue. That was masterfully done. Champagne.
I do want to clarify. You are streaming daily on Twitch and not OnlyFans. Is that correct?
Yes, that is very much correct. Even though some Twitch streamers should go to OnlyFans, I'm not one of those streamers.
Have you done a hot tub stream yet? I only learned that this was a thing this week.
I saw one about a week ago, and the host was gone for like 10 minutes as they were changing clothes. And the amount of donations that were coming in from all these thirsty blokes, I was like, what the fuck? And then she came back and she had like no personality. She was ditzy. I was like, get off Twitch.
Oh dear. So hot tub stream on Groovy Guy Gaming tomorrow night. Yeah.
Never. Actually, maybe for my 1,000 follow-up, which is pretty soon.
So we've gone from hell no to maybe, and yes, that's going to happen soon. I see. Again, that took 30 seconds.
Because we're going fast tonight, Jason. We're going to try and get this under an hour.
I know. We are going quickly, which means we're going to go right smack bang straight head first and go forward headlong into the news, which means bringing in El Screen Shero. Who wants a new Galvatron?
Me!
There's only one person. Daria, no new Galvatron for you?
Oh, I hadn't actually seen this photo before, so I was locked by that for a moment. Yeah, I just realized I sold my Galvatron a while ago, so an ID1 actually looks like Galvatron and not a dodgy tank that you can't transform.
You're talking about the Generations Galvatron.
I'm talking about the other Generations Galvatron. Yeah. This bloke's leader class, isn't he?
Yeah. So we are looking at a photograph of Kingdom Galvatron, actually posted by a TCCA member. It appears to have been the first Galvatron to hit store shelves in the world. At least we posted the sighting on Twitter, and all of the Transformers news sites picked it up and said this is the world's first sighting. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So. First release of Galvatron, he was apparently the only one on the store shelves in Toy World. A lot of places are saying that he's not due for release until next month or the month thereafter. Toy World does have a history of releasing things a little bit early. Studio Series 86 hit Toy World in mid-December, if you guys recall. So it's possible that someone's ignored the embargo date on the Hasbro boxes out the back of the store once again. He looks pretty awesome. Not gonna lie, there's a couple of things that have gone on in my life this week that might stop me from purchasing this Galvatron, despite my my previous statements to the contrary. We'll talk about that later on in the show, though. So Bradley, Daria, both getting big ticks from you on this new Galvatron design by the sound of it.
As I said, it's not many a Galvatron we have that actually looks anything like the guy from the comics and the TV. I mean, the first toy of his castle-shaped head, that was nice for 1986, but it's not 1986 anymore. So yeah, I probably want a nice close-up look, but that's always the case.
Well, so there are definitely close-up looks of the figure around. We don't have it here because we've actually gone over them many, many times, but the main story tonight is just, hey, world first, Australian release. It is $95 if you buy it on the shelf at Toy World, which is, I believe, $5 above what we would consider a leader RRP, but Toy World is sort of known for whacking $5 on top of their prices here and there. If you want to be one of the first people on the planet with the figure, $5 probably won't bother you. But if, like everyone else, you're prepared to wait, it should be a regular retail release at $90, and it should also end up going down to like 70 or 75 on sale occasionally as well. One thing I have learned is that leaders tend not to be very scarce. Eventually, like there's a lot of FOMO. People think that they're going to miss out if they don't buy the figure as soon as it's released, but I mean, I can still pretty reliably pick up siege leaders from. I mean, I have to import them from Singapore, but they still do come in a little bit cheaper than $90. So, yeah, I would not be in too much of a rush to buy this. But you know, if you desperately want to add Galvatron to your collection, he will be out there hitting store shelves in the next few weeks. And with that, I think that's enough. That's enough of the local sightings news. We're going to go on and talk about some new figures that are coming from Takara Tomy. Now, we saw this last week, and I think we talked about this as an early leak or an early release of the Transformers premium finish line coming from Takara Tomy. As happens with these kind of things, this week we have more details. So we now know that the premium finish collection from Takara Tomy is going to be releasing 2 figures per month starting in October. They are going to be a slightly higher price point than we've seen for the same figures. Like these are simply repaints. They're re-releases of existing figures. We are looking at the Siege Optimus Prime figure on the right and the Studio Series Bumblebee figure. One of them, I think this one's the Volkswagen from the Bumblebee movie on the left. Now they all have upgraded paint applications, and this is one of the things that Takara Tomy's always been considered very good at, is getting better looking paint applications on their figures than Hasbro. It appears that Hasbro and Takara have put their heads together and managed to turn this into something that they can ask for extra money for, because I think we're looking at about $38 US for the Optimus Prime figure, which is well above the regular Voyager price point of about $30. So $8 gets you a lot of extra paint. There's a lot of extra detail on this figure. We talked about the extra paint splotches and the like last week, but we only had low res pixel images to go on. This week we can see that they are definitely going for a more screen accurate finish on the figures, and I think I wouldn't be remiss in saying that Optimus Prime is definitely the focus of the initial 2 releases. Bumblebee sort of seems to be kind of an also-ran. Does that opinion offend anyone, or am I on the money there?
No, the Bumblebee to me in this photo looks like just one shade of yellow, whereas the Optimus Prime, you can easily make out like grey flecks on top of the cab, blaster sort of effects on his arms, and black splotches on his upper legs. Whereas, yeah, just Bumblebee just He looks like he's minty fresh.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, he does. I wonder if we look at some of the other photos, he might not look quite so minty fresh, but no, I'd say he does look minty fresh. He's got a paler paint finish on him than the original Bumblebee that we saw. And in fact, we do have we've got some comparison photos that show the difference between the original finish. And so the original finish for this figure was extremely sort of bright yellow, with a metallic face, which the metallic face seems to have stayed there, but the new paint job from Takara really brings out his eyes a lot more on the face. Everything else is pretty much the same color applications, but the Takara paint job is obviously quite superior. So is anyone interested in adding a premium finish Bumblebee to their collection?
No.
No, I mean, I can see what they've done here. They're going for this thing. They're starting off with the big names from both generations and the movie line, and probably gives them enough of a barometer to see how this line's going to work out. I admit this is definitely a bit of a more hardcore collecting thing, because chances are if you wanted either of these figures before, you got them already, so you'd have to be dedicated collector to get them from Japan, or even if you are in Japan, with just different colors which are much nicer but aren't radically different.
I agree, yeah.
In saying that, if I still collected the movie toys and I had the Bumblebee on the left and I saw that Bumblebee on the right, to me the premium one looks more screen accurate and a bit less sort of retina burning. But I really like the look of the premium one. The head sculpt, even though you said it's just a little bit of paint, it makes a huge difference.
It really does make a difference to the eyes, doesn't it? You can also see in the head there's a lot more difference around the paint applications around his antenna. There's also, it seems like the paint on the hands looks more chrome-like as well, whereas the original Bumblebee had sort of flat grey. But you can see
for some reason he's got
light flecks,
different coloured ankles as well. If you see like the circle bit above his foot where like an ankle sort of would be.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. So it seems that Takara is not afraid to actually get out there and paint different parts of this, rather than sort of going, well, this is coming from the same mold, so everything needs to be painted in the same colour. So yeah, it's definitely bringing out a lot more detail in the figure.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a much nicer colour. I sounded a bit cynical before, but it is a very good paint job.
It is. Let's take a bit of a closer look at Optimus Prime. Optimus. So it is handy that they've kindly put the characters into very similar poses, not exactly the same, but very very similar. So we can see where there's a lot more detail. It seems like Optimus has a lot more panel lines visible on the surface. So you can see sort of the vents or the grills on his legs. You can make out a lot more details on them there. Some of the joints and ratchets and things that move around in his legs have more visible lines on them as well. There's a much better red in use on the premium finish figure, and of course he's got the green. He's got the green look to the windows on his chest that we see in the Netflix series, and the sort of cracked glass that we've seen in there as well. You will recall for the time that the Machinima series was on as well. Like, I did find it hilarious that Optimus couldn't find anyone to actually fix his glass, the glass windows in his chest for the entire duration of the series, and that does appear to be holding true for Netflix as well.
I just think it's weird that the premium Optimus Prime has like aging, what would you call it, like aging paint or something, like the blast effects, the dirt,
weathering,
grime. Sorry, yeah, the weathering.
Weathering, yeah.
Has weathering, but the original toy also has weathering, but they're both in opposite areas. Like the premium one has weathering on the knees, but the original one has weathering on his right shoulder.
So the original did have stuff on his upper legs as well, just not quite. In many ways, I feel like this is very much Takara going to Hasbro. Hey, this is how you should have done this. If you want to do weathering on a toy, ask us.
Yeah, make it look like weathering, not like someone's just gone with a Sharpie.
Yeah. So some people have said that that's sort of what the new one looks like as well, because the panel lines and there's a bit more pronounced shadows around sort of where his chest opens up. So people are saying that it does look like someone's taken a Sharpie to him, but I do think it's more of a genuine effort to show panel lines rather than anything else.
You don't think it'll be like a slight mold enhancement?
No, I think that kind of thing is definitely down to the paint applications and the way that the mold's decorated. I think the mold is exactly the same.
Okay.
I mean, they've got different quality and methods of picture here, which is kind of favouring the premium finish guy.
Yeah, I'm noticing also that the picture on the left is really low res. Like if you look at Optimus's face,
that's what I'm saying.
If you look at Optimus's face, it's very blurry. There's a lot of blurring going on, and so they've definitely favoured the
It's very subliminal advertising there, saying this product is inferior. This new one coming out.
So what we're looking at on the left is Optimus in standard definition. On the right is Optimus in 8K, stunning 8K resolution.
And you can also tell the one on the right is under a harsher light to better capture things like edges and seams and things.
Yes. Jacob Babbick has just asked, is the head the same? I think the answer is yes, but as we've been talking about,
actually, I was going to say the faceplate does look a bit more pronounced on the premium one, but at the same time, it could just be the one on the left is a foggy photo.
I think the one on the left is actually tilted down. The one on the right is tilted up. And also, as Daria said, it's under much more harsh light to really show the difference. So I'm pretty sure the details of the mold look the same.
Yeah.
So we know from this week's announcements that the premium finish line will be released 2 figures per month, starting in October. And Takara released a lovely image showing a bunch of black squares as to what's being released in the next over the next little while, which the community very handily sought out figures in the same pose and filled in the gaps for us. So we now have a pretty good idea of what's being released when in the series. However, someone's released it with a really low res thumbnail filling him in. So we haven't quite got our fingers on everything, but we can very clearly see there's a split between the movie figures and the Generations of the Siege, or at least the War for Cybertron figures. So,
the Japanese text identifies the top as Studio Series and the bottom is War for Cybertron.
Yeah, and the boxes that we've seen do actually differ between the Generations figures and the Studio Series figures. So what have we got there? We've got looking at the War for Cybertron line first. So obviously Prime is the first. We've seen that. We've got Megatron in slot 2. It's not entirely clear whether we're looking at Siege or Earthrise Megatron. Do you guys have a preference for which one you'd like it to be?
I've got Siege. Isn't the only difference with Earthrise his head sculpt?
There's a few differences in the tank mode as well.
I remember. I think I saw a review of the Earthrise, and the tank mode wasn't really as polished off as the.
It doesn't seem as good. So as much as I don't really want to buy yet another Siege Megatron, I kind of hope that this is Siege Megatron because it probably has the better G1 looking robot mode. Next along, so that'll be November's release. Next along there'll be Ultra Magnus, yet another stab at the Siege Ultra Magnus line. Maybe it'll just be the Netflix figure re-released, we'll find out. Alongside that, we have what looks like it could be. Are we looking at Soundwave, do you guys think? Or is it?
I think it's Sound Blaster.
He's doing the laser beak eject pose. So it's him or his other self.
Right.
And I
yes.
think when we're literally talking about silhouettes,
Yeah.
toss a coin.
I would have to say that at this point, actually just a standard sound wave, because the Netflix sound wave that people have been really going head over heels for, that's been really hard to find. So getting another stab at a Netflix style sound wave, because we know that this is going to be designed to be sort of screen accurate, getting another stab at a Netflix style sound wave might be good for the community at large. Next along, we've also got Springer. We haven't seen much of Springer. Springer got a release during Siege, but his figure wasn't really widely available in Australia, and so I think there's a lot of people.
Oh, wasn't he? Because he was shelf warming down here.
Really? Which
I
store
think
was he?
I think he was like one of the few very popular figures that not many people had trouble finding.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, I see a lot of people who are still trying to find a Siege Springer today.
Oh,
And,
okay.
I wish I'd known about a year ago when.
Don't we all? This is how shell formers work.
I could have just thrown a rock at a toy store and probably found one.
Swung a cat.
Yeah.
Don't. By the way, don't swing cats at home.
And don't throw rocks at stores.
No.
Yeah. In fact, just don't. A general piece of advice is don't do anything that we tell you to do on the podcast. We're bad influences, just in case everyone is unsure. So there's going to be a premium finish version of Siege Springer, and the last figure along there looks like Wheeljack.
Yep.
I didn't think that Wheeljack really needed another release, but there you go.
So the Earthrise one was sort of like a creamy beige color, and the Netflix one was white, but it had battle damage. So maybe this one's just going to be like a bright white with no battle damage.
It's very possible, yeah.
I would like to see the Ultra Magnus though, because I'm very happy with Siege Ultra Magnus. But if this Magnus has, I don't know, maybe brighter colors or something, I'd be interested in it.
So I'm also interested to know what the colours on this will be like. I guess my guess is that we'll find out within another month or so. But yeah. Let's turn our attention to the Studio Series figures. I'm desperately trying to find the list of things that people think they are, and I don't.
I can see. So we've definitely got Bumblebee, and then I can see 4 and 5 Ratchet and Optimus Prime, respectively. I would say. I'd say 6 is Ironhide.
That's probably a good bet. I think.
That sounds like a good one. Yep.
Yeah. Although I am seeing people say Jetfire, but I'm not sure. 2 also looks like Megatron. Sorry, when I say 2, I mean the number 2 there. So the third one along looks like Megatron, because that's how he's been pictured in the Studio Series figures.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Jazz.
Well, that's an interesting one. A lot of these are very, very much speculation, and also this is stuff that's been filled in by a fan, so we might not be looking at an accurate picture of them as well. And in fact, for that reason, we probably don't really need to pay them too much mind.
Especially since the second one looks like Mudflap or Skids, whichever one it was, and I don't see why they would be giving him a premium release amongst all these other sort of main characters.
Especially straight out the gate, and especially on his own. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could be right there. So maybe we should not pay too much attention to these. You never know. We're going to find out. We're going to find out in the next few months whether this is an accurate release schedule or not. So we are looking at. We are looking at some slightly premium price points for the figures as releasing in the USA. In fact, Optimus Prime I previously said was $38 US. It's actually $58. So that's a much higher price point. He's probably likely to be closer to $100 or so. Bumblebee is the one that's a $38 US price point.
I think it's just interesting that they plan to release these month after month for 6 months, but at the same time, there could be delays. I don't know.
Look, there could be delays. It's probably good to sort of consider them sort of hedging their bets at this point a bit.
Yeah.
At least the intention is to release them month after month, but who knows?
And it probably keeps people interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be more interesting if they didn't actually tell people what they're releasing in advance. So people might be, December's release is out and it's a surprise. That's probably not likely to happen.
When we were talking about it last week, I was thinking, a premium range would be cool, and it would be also nice if they sort of mentioned it, sort of like similar how the Deep cover was released, like it was sort of there, and then suddenly it was like, okay, you can buy it now. But this one is just like in 6 months you can get these unusual. Figures. Yeah, definitely. But these ones are just. I have a feeling though that if we do know what's coming out, they might not see any sales until the final figure's released, and then people just buy them all in one batch.
Yeah, it's possible. So many companies play their cards close to their chest on release schedules these days it's for a bunch of reasons, right? Like they like to get a bit of a bang out of announcing a new wave. I was listening to the lovely Triple Takeover podcast from friends over in the UK, and they were talking about catalogs for the 84 and the 85 and the 86 series. Remember when we used to get complete catalogs of a complete toy range? And you could buy the first figure that was released and you'd get the catalogue with it so you'd know what was coming. That just doesn't happen anymore. Like, Hasbro milks the release of information on every wave of the toy line now. And part of it is because they put the money into developing the figures, and so they want to get bang for their buck when they release them, when they announce them. They want to see their product hit the news cycle and they want to see there be some buzz about the new announcement of stuff instead of it all happening at the start of the toy line being released and then just sort of as wave after wave comes out, there sort of not being that much of a big bump in public perception of them. So it's understandable, this sort of a change, but it does mean that we're robbed of some things like catalogs and a lot of advanced information about what's coming up on these lines.
I'm just looking at
they do still slip out surprises, like when that Battle Trap 2-parter came out a couple of years ago.
Yes, that's right.
Like, what the hell is this? I just found it in the shop, and first announcement was someone's finding it in a shop.
They do manage to get us a couple of surprises like that, although I feel like sometimes that's when they delay the announcement of the new wave so much that it's actually in boxes shipping out before we actually find out about it.
Yeah, I was just looking at the photos in this article. Who's that with Bumblebee in the bottom right? Is that another premium toy?
I don't think so. I think they've paired up Bumblebee with Shatter and Dropkick because they're the characters from this movie.
Yeah.
I think judging by the colours on them, they look more like the regular release.
Premiums of them could be pretty cool.
It could be nice.
The ones I really like. Shatter and Dropkick.
It might be nice to see Shatter and Dropkick done in Bumblebee, sort of in premium finish to actually match up with Bumblebee. Don't know if we'll get that in the first range of figures. Maybe they'll do it in the future.
Well, I guess it again depends on the success, because Studio Series took everyone by surprise in being so successful that they're kind of just scraping up background characters and going to animated movies now to keep the line going. Whereas at the start, I'm sure everyone thought, they'll put out the big names and then we'll be done. Yeah,
absolutely. Studio Series has been quite the success, and I think it's interesting to see where they're taking the line. Obviously, with Transformers, the Studio Series 86 figures, but also reusing some of the Studio Series 86, or not the 86, but reusing some of the Studio Series figures for other things. So we've seen Ultimate Expanse was a repaint of Studio Series Jetfire.
So it was.
Well, I say repaint, sorry, it's a retool and repaint, but yes.
Yeah.
So, look, there's going to be, and look, there's Prime
I like that photo.
versus a Seeker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what's his name? Sandstorm, isn't it?
It does look like Sandstorm.
No, I don't think so. Those wings, it's a Cybertron.
Yeah, no, you know what? You're quite right. Actually, that is definitely not Sandstorm.
With the Tetrajet.
There are rumors that we're getting a 3-pack of Cybertronian Seekers coming up soon. So maybe we're looking at an early shot of one of those. Anyway, let's move on. We do have more news to talk about.
Did we say if? Well, I'm just going to say I'm not particularly interested in these releases. How about you two?
Daria?
No, I think if a character I liked or a very particularly well done deco came out, I might pick it up. But yeah, like I said, it's for the hardcore figure collector than I am. I have said it usually once an episode that I'm on that I'm a fiction first person, so usually one decent representation of a character who, unless it's Grimlock, of course, and I'm fine.
It's funny you should mention Grimlock, but we'll save that for a second. I'll answer Bradley's question first. No, not interested in adding these to my collection. However, like Daria, if a particular deco comes along that I quite like, and I will say, I am quite liking this Prime. The Siege Prime is really nice. However, I've already got the anime colors version. I've already got the Nemesis version from the Netflix Wave 2 spoiler box. I don't know if I really need to buy a third. Maybe if one comes in, one goes out. Don't know.
I think I don't know why, but for some reason the Siege Optimus Prime just didn't really click for me. Then I got the Earthrise Prime, and then I saw this Prime mold as Nemesis, and I just snapped it up straight away. So I'm not. Maybe it was just a black repaint or something, but it's just this mold in general. Like we're talking about, color palettes and stuff. That Nemesis color palette on that mold was just instant buy for me. This is just nah.
So thinking about what I said just then, I kind of feel like I might get the premium Optimus and I might get the premium Megatron, and I might get rid of the anime colored 35th ones. So at least it's one in, one out, right?
But yeah, I mean, I've seen, like, my friend has those anime. You mean like the cell shaded ones?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just look. I mean, they look amazing. Don't get me wrong, but they just sort of look out of place, like among a collection with other Transformers toys.
Yeah, they stick out, but they do go together. So at least that's all right. These, I assume these two will go together as well with a premium Prime and Megatron. What I think will be interesting is see whether or not because they're going for sort of a Netflix screen accuracy, will we actually see Takara taking another stab at the sort of the battle damaged Netflix Megatron chest? I
was just wondering if they're going to do a Megatron with his full pouty lips.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe a third-party add-on pack.
maybe you just need the makeup gun from The Simpsons with it set to horn. Yeah. Oh, homie. All right, so we are going to move on. Daria tipped our hand at wanting to talk a little bit about Grimlock, but maybe not the Grimlock that you were expecting.
Beast Wars Grimlock back in the day made a big splash as turning out to be Generation 1 Grimlock reincarnated, rebuilt, however you portray your fiction. And this was a big deal at the time because unlike early on when we were, are these the same people with different forms, etc., etc., this was said, no, this is Generation 1 Grimlock who made his way all the way through all the various wars and interregnums and stuff, and now he's a Maximal. So, and unfortunately, the Maximal Grimlock toy suffered from a lot of gold plastic syndrome, which is one of the reasons I currently don't have one.
I've got one.
So what we're looking at here is a battle across time between Maximal Grimlock and regular Autobot Mirage.
Well. So hang on. It's not a battle between these two. So this is a Maximal and Autobot team up. So the Battle Across Time collection is going to comprise multiple sets.
Oh, it's like the
So this is the first set.
The
Galactic
Odyssey.
That's the one. Okay, right.
So very possibly, but let's go through what we've got here first. We've already talked about the Grimlock redeco of Dinobot, which I think we all saw coming, but maybe we didn't quite expect it to turn up in this way. But we also have a redeco and a retool of Mirage. Now, Mirage is sporting a much more Earth accurate look on this. He's got a much more Earth accurate vehicle mode, as we see in this photo here. Grimlock still has Dinobot's sort of pouty arms that just sort of hang there, but whatever. Mirage has quite some significant changes. So his vehicle mode is flatter, and he also doesn't actually have the shoulder mount for his cannon anymore. And some of the other changes also mean that his weapons are now side mounted in vehicle mode, as we can see here. And he does have a much more sort of Earth mode Formula One car without having to license Formula One car designs. And so we can see a lot more sort of straightforward pics there. In fact, those are the exact same pics, just not on the coloured background, and flipped around the other way. So thanks a bunch for that, Hasbro. And so we're looking at the box art now. So we're looking at a pack that's similar to, say, the Seeker Elite pack, where you've got the Transformers branding on the left near the wedge that has come to define the War for Cybertron series. There's a few notable things going on in the box. So we've got Grimlock and Mirage. They're fighting side by side, and there's a few notable things going on around it. So we can see Waspinator behind them. We can also see what you would assume to be Starscream sort of flying in from the left edge. There's another dinosaur coming at them from the left as well. Now, so Hasbro's press release calls attention to Dinobot, Starscream, and Waspinator, and people have also pointed out that there's wings hanging off the edge of the box over here. And so now, as we've talked about many times, I'm not terribly familiar with the Beast series, but people are saying that the wings are Skywarp. Does that ring true to you, Brad?
Skywarp? No, I was thinking more Silverbolt, but there's also Air Razor, who's currently released. Those wings to me just scream Silverbolt.
Yeah. Right, so maybe we're looking at Silverbolt there. Yeah, interesting. So the set is available to order on Amazon US at the moment. It's $53 US. It has been listed on Amazon Australia, where hilariously it was listed about a month ago, and it's available for order now at $78, which for a Voyager figure and a deluxe figure is actually a pretty damn good price.
Especially for an Earth mode Mirage, because that's what probably a lot of people will be buying it for.
It's really interesting. So TCCA runs video chats in the group on Wednesday nights, and one of our participants on Wednesday night said that another group that he's in, people have seen this and just gone, "Holy shit! I really want this set. Does anyone want to buy Mirage? Because I don't want that." I think there's a bit of a split. I think it depends on. Depends on which Transformers is your Generation 1. I think there's a bit of a split between the people who want the Mirage versus the people who want the Grimlock. I know that there's a lot of groups where people are very happily exchanging promises to sell one or the other figure to each other. So I think in general people are going to be pretty happy with what they get out of this collection. I've ordered the set. I guess this is going to be where I get a Beast Dinobot or Grimlock from, because I don't have any plans to get Dinobot.
Yeah, it's for some reason the Dinobot pictures, I don't know what it is, but I just can't see that head matching that body. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it just I'm not sure what it is. It's just
Are you talking about the Grimlock repaint, or do you mean the
the
Kingdom
Grimlock
Dinobot?
repaint. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I got Kingdom Dinobot right here, and he looks cool.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just that maybe it's just the fact there's like a Grimlock head on another character that I'm familiar with. Maybe that's what it is. But
And
yeah,
he doesn't have
this-
any Grimlock colours, which was a weird thing back in the day too. But here it is again.
Yeah.
It might not stand up so much if he was grey and gold and highlighted in red and other things.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
people do seem to think that this is pretty accurate. I mean, Hasbro even thinks that the colours are inspired by the Beast Wars Uprising comic.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say the Grimlock Beast Wars toy was just grey with black spots, so they're definitely not going for the toy from the 90s sort of look.
No, so yeah, so maybe it is more to do with the his appearance in Uprising, and he does have a line of spots on his back, but in generally not very spotty.
Yeah, but they haven't completely left the paddock of that color scheme. He is still mostly a whitish color with a darkish color spotting him in various ways.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, is this set a must buy, a maybe buy, or a going to buy, or I'm going to buy it and sell half of it?
Well, like you said, if we end up doing an order through the Jason Gateway and there's someone that's just interested in the Grimlock, I would be interested in the Mirage.
Well,
Hey. As far as straight up though, because as far as I'm concerned, this is a Grimlock with some white and blue ballast. So I'm happy to do that split with you.
there you
All
go.
right.
There you go. See, I love a happy medium. I think we're happy. You two can buy one set between you and figure out the split. That's fine.
And you're going to have both, are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna buy. I don't really like buying a set and then splitting it, which is kind of Daria's gone, but that's okay. Daria will come back soon, I think. I don't really like to buy a set and split them, which I think is hilarious because the first thing that I do these days after unpacking a set like this is I throw the box out.
I was going to say, did you buy Earth Mode Ratchet and get rid of Lifeline?
No, but a few people have. Lifeline
Okay.
is quite happy on the shelf about there.
Okay. All right then.
I got that, but I wanted both of them, so I was quite happy with that.
Yeah.
Fair
enough, too.
enough. Yeah.
All right, let's move on from the Battle Across Time collection. It is worth noting that it's not due for release until November. So again, we're seeing these figures so far out in advance of their launch, which is actually kind of what we usually do. It's just that I guess in a pandemic, it feels like everything's a much further time. It's much longer away. Much longer time. It's much further away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move on. We do have some Masterpiece news to talk about this week, and it's really interesting. We got this paragraph of text that appeared. I think it was a scan from Figure King magazine a couple of months ago when someone from Takara confirmed that they are working on a Masterpiece Jetfire, or as Takara knows him, Skyfire, and this entered the consciousness for a little while. I think it was around February, maybe March.
I think it was when the Skids Masterpiece was announced.
Yes, yeah, I think it was a fair while back now. It entered consciousness and then it sort of just subsided. And in the last couple of weeks, a couple of people have actually said to me, "Hey, is that real? Have they really announced that they're doing a Masterpiece Skyfire?" And I was like, "Well, yes. Like we've got a scan from the magazine. That's it." And people are like, I don't know if I believe that that's really happening, so I'm going to go and buy Fans Toys Phoenix. Well, this week... Oh, it didn't work. This week, bam! There is a Masterpiece Skyfire sitting right there, and let me see if I can just zoom that.
Being shown to
There
scale
we
with
go.
a lens flare.
Yeah, I can't tell which Optimus that is because he's sitting right under the lens flare.
We
I think
actually
that's
do
MP10.
know that it is MP10, which has been made light of on Twitter with people saying that even Takara doesn't use MP44 for comparisons.
Even they can't afford it.
Yeah, that was my response to that. Is that even Takara can't afford to keep MP44 hanging around the office for photos. And I mean, we know that Takara has a lot of MP10s because they release a lot of them every year as recolors. So what we are looking at here is a block prototype of Skyfire, or as we know him, Jetfire. Now, the block prototype is very, very, very basic in its shape and design. So there's a lot of bezels, there's a lot of curves, a lot of detail that would need to be added onto this before it's actually considered like an in-production mold. But of course, the basic form and the basic form of Jetfire / Skyfire is there and obvious. He is huge. He's probably the biggest masterpiece figure that I've seen yet. How does Star Saber compare to MP10? I think Star Saber is quite significantly larger too, isn't he?
Yeah,
Ultra
I
Magnus
think he's
also
got-
larger.
I don't know. I've got Star Saber, but I don't have MP10. But I'm pretty sure Star Saber is a couple of inches taller than MP10.
Yeah, so this looks a little bit bigger again.
Yeah,
So-
definitely huge.
So it does sort of beg the question: what price point are we going to be looking at for a huge masterpiece like this? But if Takara really does go for if Takara really does sort of trend upwards towards the sort of $600 mark that we saw with MP44, maybe this time we'll actually get a figure that's actually commensurate to that scale and that size.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure no matter what price. I mean, if this guy gets announced at the price of MP44, there'll be uproar because they'll be like, hey, MP44 was that price and it's less of a figure. Whereas if this figure is announced and it's got a higher price, again, fans will be upset that they're price gouging again in their eyes.
I think no matter what happens, there'll be people who complain.
Well, yeah.
But I gotta say, I'm definitely interested in where this guy goes and where he ends up, and I'm also quite happy that we're seeing such a prototype shot of him this early on in his in the development. Like he was only really revealed to people a little while ago, and to see him fairly fully formed is actually quite heartening. It usually takes quite a long time to get to this point. So,
Well, I mean, this could also just be a very, very basic kit bash.
it's a block model.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I'm quietly cautious. No, I'm quietly optimistic. I'm pretty happy with it. Are either of you guys looking for a masterpiece scale Jetfire?
I was going to say, you said you're quietly optimistic. This photo is quietly optimistic as well because Optimus Prime is being hidden by the flare.
It is. It's a subtle optimism.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a masterpiece toy, so I'm not particularly. I was going to say I'm not interested in it at all, but then I remember I do have masterpiece toys in my collection. But
You just remembered that you have masterpiece toys.
Well, I mean, I've only got the tapes and Star Saber. The Commander Jetfire for me is my Jetfire, or Skyfire, if you will.
The classics is for me, and yeah, the latter day masterpieces, which are on a whole extreme price level entirely, they're just too rich for my blood. It's like, that's very nice. Those of you who want it and can afford it, have fun. I just don't live in a world where, you know, this could be, as you say, this could be like $600 or so for this guy who I am not even too fond of a character and have a good version of anyway. So yeah, I'll be impressed and I'll see pictures, and if my friend who does buy masterpieces by the load, and I do sometimes see his toys gets one, I'll probably gush over it there, but I don't see myself hitting refresh, waiting for the pre-order page.
I'll just throw in a comment from Jacob once more. With a lot of work done from the Siege model, it might make it easier to finish the Masterpiece. You could be quite right. Like, we might be looking at a Masterpiece that is basically an enhancement on the Siege Commander class that we've already seen. We are going to see that figure come back for another run this year as a shattered glass Jetfire. That's the rumor anyway. So, maybe we are going to see a bit of... maybe we'll see the Generations line contribute to Masterpiece. We've seen a lot of people claim that that's happening in reverse lately. So we've seen people saying that head sculpts in the Generations line are very obviously based on CAD designs from Masterpiece. So maybe it's time that went the other way.
A lot of engineering in the Classics toys has been thought of as mini masterpieces.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that, and well, you know, look at the modern off the retail shelf toy compared to its 1980s counterpart.
Yeah, very much so, especially with Optimus.
That's true. Let's move on. Now, you can see in the top left corner of this image here, there is a foot of a figure that we're maybe not familiar with, but from the same magazine that's publishing these photos of MP10 and Jetfire side by side, we also see. I'm going to try and zoom in on this if we can. So another long gestating masterpiece project. We saw Transformers. We saw the Transformers Masterpiece announcement of a forthcoming Raiden, the train combiner. It feels like it was about 18 months to 2 years ago now. We haven't seen much of that project since. Now, what we are looking at here is apparently, we spent like 30 seconds getting the pronunciation of this right earlier, and I'm probably going to mess it up, but Shoki. Shoki. There we go. You've both said some completely different things. Zathras. Very subtle differences in pronunciation. Anyway, it's one of the train bots from the combiner. This is a 3D model of where Takara's going with the train combiner. So, I mean, it's a 3D model. We can't really ascertain that much from it. Do you guys think it looks masterpiecey, or does it look a little bit more sort of Generations-y?
It certainly looks like one of the train bots from the cartoon. I don't know. It's sort of like looking at the far right-hand side, that leg sort of looks a bit masterpiecey, but then looking at the inside on his left leg, that looks very simple, like a retail Generations toy. And then looking at the hands as well, they look sort of like Commander Jetfire's, open and then close.
That's true, yeah. So Morgan Moroney comments that the train bots are supposed to be Combiner Wars scale. Now, that is also something that we've heard. That doesn't necessarily tell us whether that's the detail of them as to what line they belong in. So the rumor is definitely, yes, Combiner Wars scale, which I think tells us how big they'll be in their combined state. But they are definitely, it is definitely a Transformers Masterpiece project, or at least it started as such.
Well, I mean, whatever it is, I'm just looking forward to being able to finally get the train bots, because I don't think they've been reissued since their Japanese toy release in the 80s, and I think they were just released as a box set. I don't know if they were released individually, but
it's quite true. And to that point of them sort of not really being released since the 80s, comment from Del Victor saying, "Holy crap, we're getting train bots. Would they make an obscure character like that MP?" I think the answer is definitely yes, because Takara does like to make things that are important to their core audience, being the Japanese audience. And if the rest of the planet catches on and enjoys the character and the figures as well, then so be it.
How about, I was just going to say, how about you two? Are you interested in train bots?
I don't really know the train bots. I mean, I know who they are, of course, but for the most part, like many people, I have seen Headmasters a few times and kind of remember them as those train bots who show up. That's a nice idea. And then they kind of go again because it's not called train guys, it's called Headmasters.
I think that was a no.
I say I don't have a particular space in my mind for the train bots other than knowing they exist. These could be awesome toys, but I don't have any preconceived notions to go with. And unlike, say, a better known character from another series where I could go, oh, I wonder if they'll give them that from their comic version. Oh, I wonder if they'll be able to do this like they do in the cartoon.
There's sort of not that much reference material to go on, is there?
Yeah. Well, when they were in the cartoon, they were usually portrayed as being together. Like there was never sort of any individual character development, or like in the G1 cartoon when First Aid left the Protector bots, and you actually got to know him a bit. There wasn't anything like that with the train bots. They were robots. They combined into a train, which the Autobots used to travel on the space bridge, and it was a combiner. That was about it.
I think that was part of their hook, that they could combine as a train vehicle and as a robot, which, granted, pretty cool as a toy thing. But as you say, like many a Japanese original combiner team, their character is a clump.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right. Look, I'm going to call it. I think we're at the end of the news because we are actually approaching the hour mark. So we need to talk about some acquisitions and get the heck off. I was gonna
ask Jason if these are masterpiece. Are they a must buy for you or no?
I don't know. I feel like I would need to see the finished product. So this would be one of 6 bots in the series, and there's already. I mean, for something that is meant to be a masterpiece figure, I can already see some fair compromises around the legs, right? Like the legs are just shells of half a train carriage. That's not particularly amazing engineering or anything there. So I don't know how I feel about that. I think it's very much a case of wait and see. They might come out and they might be incredible. Who knows?
I'm just hoping, and like I said, I'm excited at the possibility of having toys of the train bots.
Yeah, so
and if train bots your bag, then that's great.
Look, I'm happy that there's I'm happy that there's a revisitation of the train bots going on. I was never particularly taken by them, and I wasn't really interested in the media at the time, so the train bots don't really speak to me, but I'm always happy to get a cool masterpiece.
Yeah.
And this will probably be one of the more expensive masterpieces, being a 6-bot combiner.
I mean, well, I could handle it if they released them and they were Combiner Wars scale. I might be able to justify that, but if it comes out and it's like, okay, so this one toy, you're looking at $500, I'll be like, you're looking at a off. Just, yeah. Price.
They do say they want the masterpieces to be able to scale with each other, but
Yeah, I don't know. I think we have heard that it'll be more of a Combiner Wars scale, which is not the same scale as the masterpiece, but it doesn't have to be. I don't know. Then you never know.
I was going to say
they might yet move it to a different line as well. We have seen figures that Takara's shown prototypes of and just gone, oh, hey, this is a masterpiece, and then maybe it might not be. So yeah.
At the same time, though, the masterpiece cassettes aren't that big, so there is precedence for a masterpiece figure to not necessarily be masterpiece scale.
Well, I think the scale of the cassettes is very much set by Soundwave, though.
Well, yeah, that's true, I guess.
Yeah. All right. Jacob also says they shouldn't be Combiner Wars size with a sad face. I don't know. I don't know what they would be if not, though, because it's going to get very expensive per figure if not. I mean, is this $100 figure that we're looking at here?
Masterpiece
Masterpiece Skids is $100 figure.
I was gonna say the legs say no, but the upper body and the head crest and the chest say maybe, because that looks like a lot of paneling in there.
It does. It does. You could be right, but I mean, at the same time, you can start to see there's a lot of detail because it's a 3D model. There's a lot of lines, but it doesn't necessarily mean there's a lot of parts. But you can also see very much sort of half of the train carriage also on the arm as well.
Yeah, so this pretty much just looks like one of their animation models. I'm pretty sure the animation models, like you could see like the cabin windows sort of on their arms and backs. Yeah.
Well, all right, we'll see where we go.
Because I just also noticed the bottom. Sorry, Jason, the bottom of the leg. That's just literally a train door.
Yes, it is, isn't it? It is. All right, I'm going to kick the news. I'm going to kick the news sharing mechanism thing out of the stream. I'm going to return us to our classic 3-up view. And
I have to sit up now.
You do. I'm sorry. It is time to talk about new acquisitions. Who has new figures to show off? Daria, I hope you have new figures to show off because it's been a while since you've been on.
Yes, and in fact, I've had a few, but I've curated for that thing. I'll mention in passing that I got Double Dealer and both of his tape Power Master guys, but they aren't here with me. But they are a pretty good toy, and I got a good deal on them, which made me happy. What we have here in the studio with us tonight is Grimlock and Grimlock.
Is the next one Grimlock? Yeah!
Yay!
So to fill that in, that is the reaction figure version of Grimlock. I
was wondering what that was. Yeah,
I didn't know until I bought it. Basically, that there was one of Grimlock, and here he is. You can move his arms and his head, and in theory, you can move his legs, but his actual shape doesn't permit it much.
Does he have wings, or are they sort of hard cast?
No, it's, as far as I can tell, it's all chunked together as one torso piece.
Cool.
And he comes with his sword and his gun, which do detach this. Yeah, I'm a little surprised at no knee articulation. I would have thought this would be at least as doable as a action mask, but I understand this is a very cross-franchised thing, and it's not even just Transformers, but it's a pretty good and simple down sculpt of his cartoon model, so happy with that. I have the Funko Pop Grimlock. Apparently this was an exclusive, but not so exclusive I couldn't order it from Pop Culture.
I believe it was an exclusive in the US, but here it seems to have been on general release.
Yeah, how weird. Yep, this one's a little odd in that he's covered with the greebles and things from like his various main toy G1 and other releases, which is unusual for a Funko Pop, which usually likes to simplify its models down because that's the whole point of the figure. I mean, it's got obviously non-working kibble and things like his tails and things, but you may or may not be able to tell. You can see like the little ridges on his chest and his arms and things, which is a little odd.
I think he was actually a premium release. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe because they didn't have to spend the money on his two black eyes. They've been able to put the money elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm just surprised they went for that artistically though, because that's usually not their approach. They usually deliberately avoid that as part of what they do. I think it looks great in person, and he happily will join other Grimlocks on my shelf of Grimlock behind me. But
things are looking very grim behind you.
Yeah. You should be locked up for that.
Also, what we have here is
Don't think I didn't notice that.
Studio Series 86 Grimlock. Now, this guy is very well made. He's pretty chunky and sturdy. I haven't heard of any reports of damage to this figure or breakages, and mine's certainly intact after some good old playing and posing and transforming. This one, honestly, if the masterpiece didn't exist, which obviously it does, this would come so close to being it. Really, the only thing that marks this out as not being a masterpiece is that it has the stuck closed fists, and masterpieces are so known for their grippable hands these days. But other than that, the only real feature difference between this and his masterpiece figure is the lack of a sword. Despite Grimlock always being portrayed with a sword, they don't give him to his figure, and you can't change his eye color. But this, other than that, this is a figure I am pretty impressed with, and I would definitely recommend it to a Grimlock fan. I would say if you are a fan of Grimlock and just have enough to get one nice albeit expensive figure of the guy, I would say get that one. I am that impressed of him. He comes with a wheelie that doesn't pose at all except for his arms, which sits on his back like in the movie, and I can't even remember where I put that because I didn't buy it for wheelie.
No one cares about the wheelie.
If it had been a proper figure of wheelie, maybe, but it's just weird, his stuck in seated position thing.
Yeah.
Actually, can I show you guys where I've got my wheelie sitting?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we're really anxious to see it.
He's sitting on my Unicron stand.
Huh.
That looks badass. Very nice, very nice. Daria, do you have any more to show us?
No, just the 3 Grimlocks today, and a quick aside about the double dealer.
Fair enough. I have a very similarly structured acquisitions here. I say very similarly structured. It will become clear why in a couple of minutes' time. But I will point out, so very first thing is, actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn on this light here because even though it's way too bright, it should show up what I'm going to show you a little bit better. This is production on the fly here. Here we go. We are looking at New Age Galvatron. He is a fantastic figure, especially at his size, especially at his scale. I keep moving out of shot there. Sorry, I'm actually going to put myself full screen there. So, New Age Galvatron, he's utterly fantastic. He's absolutely packed full of articulation. You can see his the head moves around there. Arms move up and down. His cannon's well attached. It can do all the posing he needs to. Lots of leg articulation there as well. Ankle tilts, everything that you've come to expect from New Age. He is an utterly fantastic looking figure. I'm really, really happy to have him. I ordered this from Oh My Primus quite a while ago, and it seemed like he'd come out and they sort of missed it or something, but no, they got him and they shipped him out to me. Yeah, he does look fantastic, and I say my acquisitions are very similar to yours in theme and practice this week, because many people say that the New Age Galvatron looks like a cut down version of the Fans Toys, and the Fans Toys Galvatron arrived on the very same day as the New Age one this week. So I've long made a thing of Fans Toys Sovereign not being something that I wanted to add to my collection because I had Open and Play Big Cannon, but I have been thinking for a while now that this is actually a change that I want to make. I do want to put a higher quality Galvatron on the shelf. So Open and Play Big Cannon is finally coming off the Masterpiece shelf, and he is going to be replaced by Fans Toys Sovereign. Very, very happy to have finally acquired him. It's taken a while for it to sort of come through and arrive. There's been sort of shipping and all sorts of things going on. So
can I just ask, Jason, what's the difference between this and the big? Was it Open and Play?
So Open and Play Big Cannon is an oversized KO of Titan's Return. Galvatron, and
Okay.
he is totally MP scale. So like you could put him next to this figure and just go, yeah, they're both masterpiece Galvatrons. One obviously lacks the finish and the paint of the Fans Toys finish and the weight of the die cast. But if he's sitting on your shelf, that probably doesn't matter, right?
I'll be honest, when you put those photos into the Facebook chat, I almost said, wait, you've got Kingdom Galvatron?
That was my
so,
too.
goodness me, like if I could have gotten Kingdom Galvatron this week, mark my words, I would have. If I could have done it, I would have moved hell or high water to actually say, hey, I've got New Age, Fans Toys, and Kingdom in the same week. That would have been astonishing. But look, I didn't think that the Kingdom one would be out until later this year as well. Lo and behold, when I saw Jonathan posted it in the group yesterday, I was like, oh, I wonder if I can get that before the podcast. But it turns out, no, I cannot.
No.
So yeah. So yeah, that is new acquisitions. Bradley, I think you were shaking your head earlier, saying that you don't have any new acquisitions. Is that right?
No, the only thing that's updated is I transformed Deep Cover that I was showing off last week. So I've taken him out of the box. I really like his alt mode because it actually shows off the police badges. I mean, the robot mode does too, but this just looks cool. Also, I didn't notice this until I saw it on this guy. I've been transforming the head mode like around, turning the head around. And then I realized in the car mode, the face was just staring at me. Like that's his head just there. And I was like, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that until this mold because it's usually like darker plastic.
Yeah, you're right. The head is usually darker than the rest of the figure. And I think Deep Cover's maybe the first one of the mold that actually has a clear windscreen there. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I think the closest we come before that is like a smoky green. I don't know. But yeah. This is the first time we got a clear one.
All right. That is it for new acquisitions. A little bit of club news. Do we have club news? Yes, we do. Actually, we do. Supernova is coming up in Melbourne, and that will be not this weekend. So next weekend, starting from the 22nd. So 22nd and the 23rd of May, you will be able to find Transformers Collectors Club Australia at Supernova in Melbourne. We'll have a table in Fan Club Central. So if you are going to Supernova, and it's the first Supernova that's been held since the pandemic kicked in last year, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be massive. I am actually going to be going down to Melbourne, so we may not do a podcast next Friday night because I might be on a flight to Melbourne. I think it's going to be massive. It's really looking forward to it. We've seen the table layout and the Fan Club Central layout tonight as well. So Supernova's layout's a little bit different in Melbourne this year than it has been in years gone by. It's a little bit smaller event. I think they've kept it to one hall instead of two for COVID restrictions. But yeah, definitely looking forward to it. Come by and say hello. Simon and Chris and myself, the triumvirate of TCCA management, will all be in one place. So if anyone wants to actually take out all the club management at once, like that's definitely the place to do it.
It'll be too much of a power vacuum.
Yeah, oh well, nature abhors a vacuum, as they say in Target 2006. Look, do come and say hi next weekend at Supernova. I am also going to be attending a couple of toy fairs in Sydney in the next couple of weeks with wares to peddle and sell. So I'll be at this weekend. So anyone who's listening live, I'll be at the Penrith Collectibles. The Penrith Collectibles Fair. Penrith Collectibles Fair this weekend and CollectorCon Penrith later this month. I think it's the weekend of the 28th or the 29th or 30th anyway, it's the last weekend of the month. Not sure about the Penrith Collectibles Fair. It's the first time that event has been run there, so we'll see how that goes. But CollectorCon should be genuinely massive. It was huge when it returned in April, and so yeah, looking forward to that again. Until then, I think we're about done. Does anyone have any news or anything that we need to add?
I remembered one thing once we hit the start button. Remember the beginning of the week there was that Twitter article about new Rodimus photos? Did anything come of that?
So there have been some new photos of it around. We might put it in for next week to have a look at. They're not showing anything that we didn't already know. I think. I tend to try to avoid putting things in that are just looking at another set of photos of something that we've already done to death, because I think we've spent like 2 or 3 episodes of him. It's cool to see. So you can tell now that the sword actually stores under the vehicle mode, but that's also not really that much of a surprise. The sword has to store somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So like that. We'll put a link to it in the run sheet anyway. So if people have looked at the show notes and they've seen this conversation happen briefly, you can definitely see it clicking through the link. So I think with that, that is the end of the show. So thank you for listening. If you're watching along with a live record, thank you for checking us out. It is a Friday night. It's fairly late on a Friday night, so thank you for your time and patience. And also, thank you everyone in the live chat for commenting and contributing. We always love having live listener interaction, so thank you very much for that. As we mentioned, you'll find out more about all these stories with links to them in the show notes. You can get in touch with us in the Transformers Collectors Club Australia group on Facebook, or the podcast page, which is Australian Transformers Weekly. The podcast has its own website, its own space on the World Wide Web at transformersweekly.podbean.com, where you can go there to find all the old episodes and a little bit about the podcast. And if you haven't already subscribed, you can definitely find us in your podcatcher of choice, or on the website you'll find an RSS feed to your favourite application. We are a podcast that is a production of Transformers Collectors Club Australia. TCCA is a registered club in Victoria run by volunteers donating their time, effort, energy, money and Friday nights sitting on a video call like this one to make it better for everyone, make Transformers collecting life in Australia better for everyone. We want to connect Australian Transformers fans all around the country. We do it by engaging the community. This is why we're going to toy fairs. This is why we're going to Supernova. We want to bring everyone together in our Facebook community. It's a nice little happy place, and we're always happy to have people come along and join. You can find out more information about the club at transformerscca.com. The club has affordable yearly membership options that start at $10 a year. I say $10 a year. We've got about a month and a half left of this membership year, so we would not hold it against you if you want to hold off until next year. Going off world, you can find Transformers Collectors Club Australia on Facebook, of course, and you'll also find us at Transformers CCA on Twitter, as the rest of the internet found out this week when we tweeted pictures of Kingdom Galvatron and got picked up by all the major news sites. You can find me on Twitter at JM7X7. You can find Bradley on Twitch at Groovy Guy Gaming, and Daria, did you want to give out your Twitter?
At Vindaloo Vixen.
Vindaloo Vixen, there we go. That's good because I was going to say Daria Sigma, but I should have looked at your Twitter username and not your Twitter name. Is that right?
Yeah. My Twitter name isn't Daria Sigma either.
That's right. Oh well, it used to be. Yes. Oh, actually, no, that's your Facebook name. Anyway, I'm confused by identities, right?
There are other Daria Sigmas out there.
Are there?
Or me, yeah.
Okay, don't follow. Just if you see someone called Daria Sigma, maybe don't follow them. Only go for Vindaloo Vixen. Pro tip. Right.
And one of them's a bitch, and I mean that in a zoological sense. There is a racing dog called Daria Sigma.
Oh.
Okay. Just to tie this back to the beginning of the podcast, do they have an OnlyFans account?
We've gone full circle now. We've gone full circle, and now we've just sort of stepped into the middle of it and done terrible things. That is going to be it from us. It would not surprise me if Brad cuts this off in the edit, and we'll be back with more Transformers news soon. Maybe not next week. We'll see how we go timing wise, but we'll see what happens. Until next episode, it's goodbye from us, and it's also goodbye from Bradley, who's waving madly. Bye.